Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast, live special college football week 14 wrap up and rankings review edition. Let's go. And tonight I got joining me my main man, Ryan Langford, former Fighting Illini wide receiver, former Indianapolis Colt, former Ottawa Red Black, former Saskatchewan Rough Rider, former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, and former BC Lion. There we go. I think I got them all.
Got it.
All right.
My man. Thank you so much. Glad to be here as always.
Yes, sir. It's my main man, A1 wide receiver and kick return specialist on the Division I, NFL, and Canadian football levels. So I love having Ryan here to lend his expertise to the show. What we're going to do, we're just going to wait a couple minutes, see if we get a couple more people in the chat. But before we do, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please make sure you go ahead, click that like, that subscribe, that notification bell. Make sure you're kept up to date whenever we drop new content on the channel. If you want the audio-only version of the podcast, open up your audio podcast platform, hit the search bar, type in The Format Podcast, and we should come right up. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you give us that like, that 5-star review, and drop a comment. All that stuff helps us rise in the algorithm, helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. And finally, make sure you write it down, put it in your phone, set an alarm, do whatever you got to do to remember. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. we are live here on the Format Podcast, and we'll give you the opportunity to call in, talk to us, get at me. I love it. I can't wait. Man, so before we even get started, Ryan, how was your Thanksgiving, man? We haven't been on for a couple of weeks. You know, life happens, but we're back. How was your holiday, brother?
It was great. I had a lot of family come in. A lot of my mom's side family came up from South Florida, and just a lot of food, a lot of laughter, and
as it should be.
Needed. I was present, which is good. You know, it doesn't always happen. Yes. You're always thinking of the next, but it was good to be stationary with the family and having a good time.
That's good. That's good. Oh man, it was cool, man. Quiet, nothing too major. Just me and the immediate family here at the house. Just ate some food, relax, and of course, watched plenty of football because you know that's a must.
Gotta do it.
Yeah, definitely. So you know, it was cool, man. Just relaxed and had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. All right, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and we'll get right to it, and whoever pops up. So let's start here. As we can see from the rundown, there's only one place to start here in college football as we wrap up week 14, and that is the game. And when we say the game, if you're a college football fan, you know what that's about. That is, of course, Michigan and Ohio State, arguably the most vitriol-filled rivalry in all of American sports. Now, I'm sure the Yankees and Red Sox people, I'm sure the Yankees and Red Sox people, I'm sure the what do we got here? The Auburn, Alabama people, Lakers and Celtics people, I'm sure they would all maybe disagree on that. But it seems to me, just, watching from outside, there's nothing like the game. And you being a Big Ten guy, I'm sure you've been, you've been pretty close to that whole environment multiple times, man. Just give me your thoughts even before we get into this particular one, man. What, I know you know a lot of Michigan, Ohio State guys. What does it mean to them? Like, we hear it, but you're closer, boots on ground, man. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's the game that's circled every year, right? It's your rivalry game. It's rivalry week, and you hate the other team, right? Like that's. Right. I mean, there's nothing that you can kind of put past that or downplay it. Like, you want to win. And then especially now for them in late college football, this game has always been, even it's gaining more traction because they're both getting better. Now the college playoffs are kind of adjusting too. So these are always big games on their schedule. But as a Big Ten fan, this is good football to watch.
Man.
And these are the two historic programs of the Big Ten too. And I think that adds another layer of magic to it, if you will.
That's right. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. It's I tell you what, like, as a Notre Dame fan, I don't have a dog in the fight either way. I like to see, I love this style of football, good physical, in the trenches, outstanding football, right? Like that's what I grew up watching. That's what I love to see. I'm a Ravens fan as well. So AFC North, that's how we play football there. And so watching, this Michigan and Ohio State thing to me is freaking awesome. what do they say? Like the last, I can't even remember, but the team that wins the rushing battle in that game has won that game like the last 20 something times or something crazy like that. Like,
Wow.
it's
It would
very
make
simple.
sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a simple recipe, right? you
Yeah.
know, it's not that serious. What's good, brother? Yes, sir. We are live. We are live. But yeah, it's beautiful football to watch, man. If and I'm sure that the people in the SEC might disagree, but I loved watching it, and it was incredible. So let's get right to that, man. Coming into this particular game, Ohio State says that Ryan Day wasn't on the hot seat, but part of me believes that he was.
Yeah.
We know John Cooper had a tremendous record, very similar to Ryan Day back in the 90s. Ends up getting fired because he couldn't beat Michigan. Like, it's that serious there, right? I know in Michigan's locker room, in their weight room, they have like a sign or something like that says, "What have you done to beat Ohio State today?" So it's like every day of every year, that is the focus, is the game, beating Ohio State, right? And I'm sure there's something quite similar in the Ohio State locker room, But yeah, so the previous 3 years, Michigan had won this game, and they had a very particular recipe for doing it, right? Physical, what do you call it? Put it in the phone booth, turn it into a rock fight,
Right.
and punish these guys and impose your will, right? What do I always say about football, Ryan? Simple recipe:
Run the ball.
Stop the run, right?
That's right.
And
That's right.
Yeah. And
it's tried and true recipe, also.
Tried and true, man. And there's nothing wrong with being able to throw it and having an aerial attack and all that. That's cool too. But when you get down to football's basic truisms, it's run the ball and stopping the running. Michigan's been able to do that over the last 3 years. This year, obviously, a lot of change, a lot of turnover. Obviously, Coach Harbaugh gone to the NFL. Sharon Moore, former OC and offensive line coach, takes over as head coach. Good for him. And Michigan loses 13, 14 players to the NFL draft. They lose other guys to the transfer portal. So tough season overall. Difficulty at the quarterback position, difficulty at the skill positions. Defense still very solid, right? And they were, 29 point underdogs or something like that. It was the biggest spread in the history of this rivalry coming into this game, because everyone's looking at Ohio State. Okay, they got Chip Kelly as the OC. They're playing outstanding defense. They loaded up the team to try and win a title this year, and of course to beat Michigan in the offseason in the transfer portal. I think they spent like $20 million in NIL on these players they brought in. So everything was ready. Everything was there for the taking. And obviously Ohio State was the betting favorite. And they lay an egg and lose 13-10, man. Give me your thoughts on how that came about, why Ohio State lost this game. And give me your thoughts on this.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's the beautiful thing about football is you got to be prepared every single week.
That's right.
And then rivalry week changes everything. People call it rivalry week, but there's always just this mental expectation of you just want to do better and you just want to be great. And you've got to be prepared. And I think that Ohio State wasn't as prepared as they needed to be. They might have been reading some of the stuff on the board and saying, hey, Michigan really isn't the same Michigan that they were. This isn't the national championship Michigan team. We're actually rolling now. We're the new guys. And I don't want to say got embarrassed, but didn't do what they needed to do to win the game. And I think that's what really came through. I mean, we talk about Ryan Day all the time, and it's tough for him. You start thinking like, okay, well, he kind of was on the hot seat. This is kind of that big game all the time, that make or break kind of season thing. And they didn't win, right? At home. And that were they were at home. Yeah.
They were at the shoot.
And that makes it tough. That makes it tough.
Yeah, man. So I'm watching this game, and I think what happened is, and Joel Klatt said this as well. Shout out Joel Klatt, really great and fairly unbiased college football analyst. I really like that. One of the things he said was that for the fourth year in a row, Ohio State and Ryan Day allowed Michigan to play this game on their terms.
Yeah.
Like, we know that if Ohio State played Ohio State football, they'd have blown them out by 30, right?
Yep.
But they allowed Michigan to play the game the way that Michigan wanted it to, right? And so I think there's kind of a narrative that Ryan Day's not a tough coach. Ohio State is not a tough team with a tough culture. And apparently he I guess he wanted to go out there and prove it. Like, we're as tough as Michigan. We're tougher than Michigan. We can go out there and run it on them. We can have success that way.
Mhm.
And Michigan said, no, we're not going to allow you to do that.
Mhm.
And when, Michigan played their style of game, and imagine this, Michigan, I believe, had 2 red zone interceptions.
Yeah.
So now that game could have been worse for Ohio State
Yep.
had Michigan, been able to execute effectively, in those situations. So, yeah, man, I'll say hats off to Michigan. And this is crazy because I think they were saying, like, I was reading some just today, Ryan Day's kids are getting bullied at school, which is terrible. But
Terrible.
this is Ohio State, Michigan, right?
Terrible.
They're saying his wife can't go to the grocery store. Like, this is tough sledding, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now the rumor is he may move on. I just read today because I have been saying for a couple of years now, Ryan Day needs to go, right?
Mhm.
Because remember, it was a big thing when Jim Harbaugh said Ryan Day was born on third base, but it's true.
Mhm.
Urban Meyer had that program up and running, humming, right? And Ryan Day kind of comes in and takes over and everything's there. He didn't have to build it. He didn't have to do the work. He just took
Mhm.
over. Cool.
Mhm.
He wins the first one. And then after that, Michigan starts, going in on him.
Mhm.
And so now we're seeing maybe he was born on third base. Maybe he's
Mhm.
not that guy. And I'll tell you, you didn't know me then, but way back when Mark Richt was the coach of Georgia prior to Kirby Smart getting there,
Mhm.
and they had all those teams loaded with talent. I know you remember that, but they
Mhm.
couldn't get over the hump. They couldn't beat the Alabamas. They couldn't beat the Floridas. And I said for years, probably about 4 or 5 years, that Mark Richt needed to get fired. Well, I'm now saying the same thing about Ryan Day.
Yeah.
I'm saying the same thing about James Franklin at Penn State. These guys who can't win these games, they got to go. They got to
Mhm.
go. You
Mhm.
got to move on and get somebody who can, man. Your thoughts on that? Do you think that Ryan Day should keep his job? Because he's been outstanding in the Big Ten.
Yeah. I think they could start looking or preparing for the next coach, right? I think he hasn't done or lived up to the expectations that they've wanted. And I know this is why I love football. I think football is the ultimate team game because you just
Yes.
gave 2 prime examples of where coaching matters. And it's more than coaching. It's coaching styles. It's coaching mindset. It's coaching philosophies. It's all those
Right.
things. And even more importantly, when you really slim it down to one of the most important concepts of being a good coach is making sure that you have players that can be accountable and focusing on the details. And the details is really what wins and creates success. I mean, you got Nick Saban, who was a very detail-oriented, scripted
Yeah.
person,
Yeah.
and you see what he was able to do. And then he leaves. And then, this first year they are having some success. But like you said, kind of with the Ohio State situation or the Georgia situation, things change. You can have those same guys, but if it's not being ran or being thought or being focused the same way as it was previously, you might not see the same success. So I think that's what Ohio State's kind of going through. It always comes down to the details. And this is a hard era of college football to be that detail oriented because there's so many more distractions. Social media,
Yeah. A lot of moving parts.
NIL deals. Now you got more people in this playoff system. Guys getting money. It's all different. So there's so many more distractions, which is
That's
going
right.
to cause players to be that much more determined to want to be great, to want to be better, to focus on those details. And those coaches who are able to kind of capture those players and remind them that, hey, these little things count. Those will be the teams that we see, turn over and be the greatest.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. Absolutely. But you can also look at the flip side. Maybe all those distractions keep a lot of players from wanting to be great because now, not saying they're not hungry, but maybe there's a little less hunger because now they're getting some money and, they can they have the feeling like, oh man, I don't like it here. It's not working for me here. I'm gonna hit the portal and just go somewhere else. Yeah.
And play next year. Start.
Yeah. I don't necessarily mind that freedom, but you always hear when people talk about, football, it being a game that teaches you to overcome adversity. And maybe some of these guys aren't getting the lessons in overcoming adversity when they want to cut and run as soon as things get a little difficult or it's not going exactly how they thought. Now, I'm not in those shoes, so I can't speak to that. And I'm,
Absolutely.
I would say that, for me, if I was in that situation or if I was the NCAA, then what I would say was under certain conditions, like you should be able to move without, being held. Like, and the easier way to do that, and this is kind of a digression, and then we'll get right back to the game. Easier way to do that is you got to put everything in writing, right? If a coach recruits me and tells me I'm going to start and lied to me, well, I want that in writing. Hey, if you come here, you're going to start. If you're going to come here, you're going to get X amount of dollars in NIL, et cetera, et cetera. So now when that doesn't come through, hey, I had it in writing. Coach signed it. Right. If that doesn't come through, then, hey, you allow me to transfer free of penalty, right? I go there, but then the coach leaves, right? As coaches unfortunately often do. Then what happens is what I should be able to roll out as well, right? Because now the new coach might bring his guy who takes my job and takes my position. You know what I'm saying? So you got, the different situations where I think that should be A-okay. What up, Transformer? What's good, bro? What's good?
Hey, the strongest.
Right,
the strongest.
Right. No doubt. But yeah, so back to the game, man. So we saw Michigan really do what Michigan does, effectively run the football, effectively stop the run, and really just impose physicality on Ohio State. And they end up winning the game 13-10. And you could hear the joy from Sharon Moore. And I think also I heard them say, Joel Klatt said that when they did their calls with the coaching staffs during the week, Sharon Moore and the Michigan coaching staff said, we believe that if this game is one score in the fourth quarter, we can win this game. So that's the belief in knowing that if you play your brand of football, you're going to have success. And I kind of like that,
Yep.
Yeah. I like it a lot. I love the way they play, man. And then also, that helps Notre Dame every time somebody hired, somebody that was hired and them gets knocked off. That's Go Irish. I'm always good there. But no, overall, I think it was a really exciting game. If you love defense and you love physicality, I'm sure there are some people who maybe thought it was a boring game. I didn't think that at all. I was riveted. Did you find it to be an exciting game?
Yeah, I thought it was. I think people enjoy those shootout games. And this probably was more of a technical game, even though there was some turnovers, there was some excitement. But I mean, it was a good example of late season Big Ten football, low scoring, physical, and come almost last one that has possession or the more physical team is going to win.
Yeah. So let me ask you this now, and you can really speak to this one. So we saw Michigan plant the flag at midfield at Ohio Stadium, and that obviously turned into a brawl. And we saw that in a couple of more places across the weekend in college football. I've been kind of taking in thoughts from different people in the college football media and in the sports media in general about it. Like one of the first ones I heard was Shannon Sharpe saying, well, you had 60 minutes of time and 3+ hours of game time to stop me. Now you over here mad, you want to fight because I beat you. Where was that fight during the game? You know what I'm saying? You're fighting more now that the game is over than you did during the game. You caught this butt cut and now you mad. Now you want to fight, And then I've heard on the flip side people saying they should ban the flag planting and I'm like, one of the first things I thought was I wonder where Ryan stands on this. So I've got you here. What are your thoughts on that, man? I kind of lean towards what Shannon said.
I kind of side with both and hear both sides. I hear Shannon Sharpe saying, hey, you had time, because that's ultimately what happened. We had the same amount of time to play and y'all lost. Now, there is something that all of the teams that I was a part of and the coaches, in college, Zook wasn't having it, Beckman. And also it was a different type of environment, right? We were going to win between the whistles. And we're going to do it with class, right? And y'all knew that we won. We didn't need to go and plant the flag and say that it was our field. Just the fact that it was silent in there determined that it was our field. And it was just us running on into the locker room. So that's what I always respected. Now, I get this new competitive nature. I get, guys, taking the flag and slamming some things down. But if they come and disrespect your field because they meet you, hey, sorry, they beat you, and you guys should have done a better job. But it's a lot of fighting. It's a lot of childish things that I'm not a big fan of. It's not a good look for the football community as guys can't and aren't able to kind of maintain their emotional intelligence after the game. And I think coaches need to do or can do a better job of kind of roping guys in. Now, every team is going to have their hot heads. Every team is going to have the guys that talk trash. Every team is going to have the guys that want to make a statement. But if I was coaching, I would be the coach of like, hey, yeah, we're going to be nasty between the whistles. They're going to know we beat them. And then when it's done, we're going to walk, we're going to shake their hand and say, good game. And we're going to run into the locker room victorious as we celebrate in the locker room as a team on the flight back home. That's just my philosophy.
I'm not mad at that. And I wouldn't argue with someone who knows it so much better than I do. I would personally say, if you don't want somebody to plant their flag on your field, you should have stopped them. That's simple. Don't try to stop them now. Take your butt in there and watch it and think about that all summer long while you're in that weight room, while you're pushing that sled, while you're running those sprints, while you're learning your playbook. Think about it then. Don't try to fight now.
And be honest, the flag, you've already been disrespected. Y'all lost. We came into y'all place and beat y'all. This is just the icing on the cake. You mad that we already baked the whole cake? What?
Right.
Get mad about the games, the 4 quarters that y'all just left on the field. Don't worry about me doing a thing. But again, there's a level of class that comes into play that I always respect. I always try to be a respectable person, and I think it hurts more when you just beat somebody down and then you shake their hand and say, "Hey, good game. We'll see you next year." Head to the locker room.
Okay, well, that's a different way of looking at it. I'm not mad. I guess I'm just petty. I'm seriously, I'm very much an "I told you so" type, so I can see that. Real quick.
Now we get on social media, that's different.
Yeah.
In my DMs, Now it's a different. I didn't really have that type of. It was different back then. Twitter was kind of coming up, but it wasn't too much trash talk, and I wasn't a big trash talker. Not trash talk on the field, but other than that, after the game, it's hey, you're a human like me. You got a family, I got a family. You trying to go to the next level, like I'm trying to go to the next level. We competitors.
Right. So I'll tell you what, real quick, let me interrupt here. I see this from Evan the Reporter. Evan the Reporter, what's good, man? I have not seen you here before. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Are you a reporter? I'm a trained journalist myself, man. Let's connect. But he says, holy moly cow, Rich Rodriguez has been offered a 10-year contract by West Virginia per Jacksonville State beat reporters. Now, that's interesting because I was actually thinking, for me, if I'm West Virginia, I'd be trying to grab Jamie Chadwell, the coach of Liberty, who was formerly the coach at Coastal Carolina. I would be trying to do that. But I guess West Virginia's most recent success had been with Rich Rod as the head coach. So, but 10 years? I don't know. I think he left West Virginia to go to Michigan, right? Or was he at Michigan before West Virginia?
Let me see if I can find that real quick.
Yeah. But yeah, I would think that Jamie Chadwell would be the guy that I would be after if I was West Virginia. But I mean, I guess Rich Rod, he knows that area. I guess he may know how to recruit it and he knows how to coach it. So we'll see what ends up happening there.
Yeah,
that is interesting.
Jackson State, before that, Louisiana Monroe, Ole Miss, Arizona, Michigan, West Virginia.
Okay, so he did leave West Virginia to go to Michigan.
He left West Virginia in 2007.
Okay. Wow.
And played outside linebacker in 1989.
Wow. Oh, did he?
Yep.
At West Virginia?
At West Virginia. And
so he's a Mountaineer.
Was a SA. That's probably a graduate assistant? Not a graduate assistant. But yeah, so he's got some ties.
Like so there you go. Okay.
I love that he's got 10 years, right? And me, I see 10 years as opportunity. Now it'd be great for him to, bust out of there early with some wins. And, year 2, year 3, they were having conversations about them being in the playoffs.
Right.
The 10 years, that's nice. And 70 million ain't bad either.
Yeah. Jeez, around 70 million. That could be interesting. But you know what? The money is so big in college football now that some of these schools will pay the buyout. Quick note, as I was saying earlier, I believe that Ryan Day should be gone from Ohio State. I read something today saying that his buyout is about 37 million and the boosters are not interested in paying that, especially with the NIL they got paid. So that's interesting. They have the money, but we'll see what ends up happening. But it's not going to be too many more of these losing to Michigans. Like, and again, if you're Ryan Day, do you want your family to have to go through that? Like, you know how real it is at Ohio State. Do you want your kids getting bullied over it? Do you want your wife to not be able to go to the grocery store because you're failing and not getting the job done? Like, it's one thing if they get on him. I'm sure he can deal with that, but his family, that's tough, man. That's
Yeah,
tough.
of course, you don't want that, but
No,
you also can't control that. And wherever he was, at before, this isn't the first time that coaches' kids and coaches' wives have
that's true.
been targeted. I'm gonna use the word targeted,
Mhm.
but
No,
unfortunately,
yeah.
that's part of that comes with it, and I hate
Mhm.
that aspect of it, and I'm sure the coaches hate that aspect of it too, because there's like fans, fans that
Yeah,
they love you and they hate you, but I think family, exactly, yeah, like family is a lot,
I agree. I agree. That should definitely be off the table, man. Is- Yeah, that's terrible. Oh wow, man. See, so the vitriol is real, man. We talking about the game, man. It's no joke. Let's see. I guess it's a quote from the article. Contacts with knowledge have also have said, I saw that too. Jimbo Fisher will follow
Okay.
Rodriguez as his OC to West Virginia as he expressed the desire to not be a head coach again. Wow. And yes, he is from
Really?
West Virginia. So you notice that? Like, I think a lot, you're seeing more and more of these coaches just not wanting to deal with everything that comes with being a head coach. And I would assume that's the NIL. And now you got the pay for play that's
Man.
coming after the house settlement and have to constantly re-recruit your players. Like, and you literally have situations now where players are extorting programs like, hey,
Yep,
give me some more money or I'm not going to play in the bowl game. Like, damn, like this is
yep,
all getting
yep,
crazy, man.
yep.
College football is turning insane, but it's super exciting though. But
Mhm,
yeah, I mean, think about it. We saw Chip Kelly resign from being the head coach at UCLA to
mhm,
go be Ryan Day's OC when
mhm.
Ryan Day was his OC at New Hampshire, right?
Right.
Um, we saw Gus Malzahn resign from being the head coach at UCF to go be the OC now under Mike Norvell at Florida State.
Mhm,
So we got some interesting stuff going on. Jimbo
mhm.
Fisher now allegedly wants to be on Rich Rod's staff, but that's really weird though. Rich Rod runs that really option heavy scheme, or at least he used to, and
Mhm.
freaking what's his name? Jimbo runs a pro style. So how the hell is that gonna mesh? You know what I mean?
Well, if Jimbo's coming in as an OC, he's coming in to
To run his
run
scheme, right?
run what he runs, right?
I
And
guess.
if he's yeah, he gonna run what he's running. Head coaches bring you in to say, hey, you're the OC. Theoretically, you
Mhm.
think that the head coach is giving me free reign to run my offense.
You would think.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. But I mean, when
yeah.
you're, and I get it, but when you're a head coach and you have an offense that is philosophically different from your OC, how do you bridge that gap? You know what I'm saying? Like a pro style and an option offense, like what Rich Rod runs,
Yeah, but I
that's a
think pro
big.
style in at West Virginia is solid. Like
Haven't they been running like variation of the
what they're
air
gonna
raid
try
for
to
a while
run.
there?
What do you say?
Haven't they been running variation of an air raid there for a while since Dana Holgerson?
I would say so, but I would also say they now have the ability to run whatever they want.
Yeah.
They got a brand new coach,
Hmm.
brand new OC,
Yeah.
allegedly to all this information. But
Right, right, right,
we'll
right,
see.
right.
I believe it.
Yes.
You now have the opportunity to kind of to change your scheme. That's why
Hmm.
change happens. New coaches come
Yeah.
in, things
Yeah.
change. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like that. That's part of it. Trying to get an edge.
No doubt, no doubt, man. This is crazy. Wow. All right, so we're gonna wrap this first topic, man. The game, as I mentioned, Sharon Moore and his Michigan men go into the shoe and win for the fourth. Well, not in the shoe, but they win the game for the fourth straight season, 13-10. Really low scoring defensive affair. Between the trenches, turned it into a rock fight and slowed down Ohio State's elite offensive weapons. I will say this before we move on from this, though. The beautiful thing is, as much as I was calling for Ryan Day to get fired, he still has an opportunity to really salvage things if he can win a
Mhm.
national championship. Although I'll say this for Ohio State fans, it'll be bittersweet because if you don't beat Michigan, it's almost like the year is a failure.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
you
Mhm.
you got that. Man, crazy, crazy. Oh my gosh. Loving college football, man. I'm loving college football. All right.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and hit some of the top games of week 14, obviously rivalry week. These are the three that I picked to go over. Obviously, if you had any in mind, we definitely can hit on those. You know where I'm going to start. Go Irish. I am going to start with the currently ranked number 4 in the college football playoff, and we'll talk a little more about that later. Notre Dame Fighting Irish goes out to USC to finish off the season with one of their toughest tests of the year and probably their toughest test in the last 10 weeks. A team that has real athletes, real team speed, real weapons, real offensive play caller, real pro-style passing attack. And I wouldn't say they passed the test with flying colors, because they were tested. Their defense, which was, one of the best in the country, was tested more than it's been tested for the most of the season. Let's see, Transformer. We definitely have to talk about Sellers. South Carolina. Yeah. We'll do that. Definitely. We'll get to it. Definitely. Go Irish. But so Notre Dame goes out to USC to LA, and that's been kind of a house of horrors for them. Last time they were there, Caleb Williams literally won a Heisman on these guys and made them look like complete and total fools out there. But this time, even though I think USC put up about 600 yards of total offense, some of it, when the game was in the balance, Notre Dame's defense was able to come through in the clutch with back-to-back pick sixes in near the end of the fourth quarter. Yeah. I think one with about 3 minutes and change remaining, another with a minute and change remaining, 99 yards, and then 100 yards following that. So this is crazy. In Notre Dame's entire football existence going into that game, they had, I think, 6 pick sixes of that distance in the entire storied football history of Notre Dame. Wow. And that's what, a little over 100 years?
Wow.
And they had 2 on back-to-back plays
at
the end of that game. That is crazy, right?
That is crazy.
One of the best secondaries in the country, man. Xavier Watts, Christian Gray, Leonard Moore. I wish Benjamin Morrison could have been out there, but he was injured, and good luck to him as he recovers and then prepares for the NFL draft. But what did you think of this game? I could talk about it all day, you know that, but what did you think about what you saw? And I guess I want to know more so Notre Dame's defense was tested more than it has been in probably the past 10 weeks. And what did you think of how they were able to respond to that?
Yeah. I didn't watch it super, super close, but from what I did kind of track back and see, I thought the game was going to be a little bit closer. I think Notre Dame's defense did really, really well. Those pick sixes hurt. Interceptions hurt in general, but when you can turn it around for touchdown, that's tough. That's a backbreaker, especially when you're driving the ball, in the red zone, right? Red zone interceptions are tough. So I think that those, kind of took away from them. And USC is just not the USC that they've used to be, that we've seen historically. And that's unfortunate, right? All types of things, transfer portal, different coaching styles, football's changing, schemes are changing. It's a lot of things, but Notre Dame is not a bad football team, right? Notre Dame is a good football team, obviously, as you know. And, they went in there and played well. And it's nice to have a defense that can make those stops in the red zone. Get people fired up and can change a game or solidify a game, if you will, too.
Yeah, no doubt. I love the fact that Notre Dame was able to run for 260, 37 carries, 260 yards. Almost had 2 guys over 100. Jeremiah Love, he was at 13 carries, 99 yards. Got injured and went out. Jadarian Price stepped up. Notre Dame's got one of the best running back rooms in the country. I'm not going to say the best, but one of the best. And they were able to run the ball very effectively, although USC ran the ball effectively as well. 28 carries for $197. So they did their thing as well. So credit due. The young kid, the young quarterback, Jaden Maeva, 360 through the air, but we got those 2 big picks off of him. So I think I was concerned about how Notre Dame's defense was going to be able to stand up going against real speed, real athletes, real strong guys, real fast guys, and an elite play caller in Lincoln Riley. And it just goes to show realistically that USC is a better team than their record indicates, but they don't know how to finish games.
Mhm.
Like they don't know how to close out games yet. And
Mhm.
there's still things they need. They need to improve on the O line, improve on the D line, because if we remember when USC was at their best under Pete Carroll, people remember the flashy offense, but really they had dominant defense. Pete Carroll's a
Mhm.
defensive guy. Their defensive line, their linebackers, their DBs was crazy, right?
Yeah, they
They
were.
had a
They were.
dominant defense. Yeah, that's what allowed these guys to really have the level of success that they had. But yeah, USC is a better team than their record indicates, and obviously, I'm glad Notre Dame was able to go out there and get the win. And it was touch and go for a little while there, and there was a couple of times when, because going into the game, I felt like, okay, if Notre Dame can really, if they can break them and go
Mhm.
up by 10 or 14, I think that USC is going to fold, because I didn't think that they had the level of physicality required to stand up to Notre Dame, but they did, and so I saw that. But with that, I really feel like, just looking at as it stands now, the college football playoff landscape, I don't know that there's a team that, if Notre Dame's at their absolute best, that they can't beat. There doesn't seem to be one particularly dominant team out there. And again, we'll talk about that when we get to the ranking review.
Mhm.
But yeah, just big win, good win, necessary. And now Notre Dame makes history in their long, storied, illustrious history. They will host a playoff game for the first time ever. First year of the 12-team playoff, they will host a playoff game. And I must say, I am hoping that the team from somewhere warm so they can go up there and they can step into about 25 degrees at game time. And
Yeah,
if Notre Dame's smart, that will be a night game, right? So you make it a night game, so it's
that's
about
gonna
20
be.
degrees, and
Oof.
hopefully you get some snow coming down, and
Mm.
I
Mm.
would love to see that. So you know what? Before we move on to the next game, let me ask you this. Obviously, you are a Florida guy. Were you born in Miami, or you were born up here?
Born in Miami,
Okay, so you
South
are
Miami. Yeah,
you
Fort
are as
Lauderdale.
Florida as it can be, right?
That's right.
So born in Miami, played high school ball up here in Jax, and
Right.
obviously, you're a South guy. But then, and we've kind of talked about this before, you went to school at Illinois.
Mhm.
How hard is it to get adjusted to that first playing in that really cold game? Because yeah, and I say that to say that can be a real advantage if we get a team, Notre Dame gets a team from the South, and that would likely be the coldest game that they've ever played in, and that
Mhm.
really makes a difference. So
Mhm.
talk to us and tell us about how that affects you as someone who's not used to those temperatures.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough on the mind, and that's ultimately what it comes down to, right? Because you feel
Mhm.
cold, you
Mhm.
feel like it's harder to catch, you feel like you can't do some things, and there is some difference, right? When it's snow on the
Mhm.
ground, when it's windy, it's tougher
Right.
to run certain plays, to throw the ball deep, to do that
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it can be hard to adjust. But all coaches usually say is, well, it's cold for them too. Now, yes, they're from up that area. Yes, they're a little bit more used to it, but they're dealing with those same elements that you're dealing with too. And at the end of the day, it's still ball, but it's hard to get used to. And you might, and I don't know if I ever got used to it. I tell people it's
Mhm.
easier to live in the cold than it is to play, right? So if you got
I
a
can
football game
imagine
at
that.
1 o'clock and it's
Yeah.
32 below 32, you're like, hey,
Right.
you know what? I'll just go grocery shopping tomorrow. But if you
Mhm.
playing, it's 1 o'clock kickoff, you out there at 1 o'clock, no matter
Yeah.
what the temperature is, and you got to perform. So yeah, those cold games are not my favorite. Are not my favorite. I'd rather it be sweating hot, testing the people's endurance, all that kind of stuff. Cold is just a different game.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine. And to Transformers' point here, trying to get hit, the ball probably feels like a brick. Your hands
Hmm.
are frozen, no matter what type of gloves you have, and your toes are frozen. You try to run
Hmm.
these routes.
Hmm.
You see these guys on the sideline. They have the gigantic coats on with the hoods, and
Right.
and they
Right.
all trying to huddle around the heaters and all that. I can't even
Right.
imagine
Right.
how.
Yeah, the heaters are the best. The heaters are your best friend. Those coats actually don't keep you as warm as you think they do
Really.
because everyone's taking them off and putting them back on.
Hmm.
Often, you're switching them, you're moving them, like so. It's like
Hmm.
it's
It's not keeping
cool.
the heat in.
It's
Yeah.
not really keeping the heat in. So the
Hmm.
heaters are more, the more thing. So the trick is take the
Hmm.
jacket over there, open it in front of the heater, get it, boom, put it on, hold it, then go stand where you got to stand. Now the technology's probably changed. Everyone's
Yeah.
probably get their own jackets, but yeah, it's been
Okay.
tough. I've seen guys' shoes melt because they're too close in front of the heater. I've seen all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yep.
You know what always amazes me when you talk about these cold weather games too is the toughness you see from the O linemen because they don't generally wear sleeves and they're out there just, I'm like, wow, you know.
Right. And some coaches, I mean, I played with some coaches that, skill guys couldn't wear sleeves. So that's when you really started seeing the third sleeve where we're kind of stopped right at your elbow. Because as you're running with the ball, the leather on the ball is also cold. So it's a lot more slick. And when it's not on your skin, that connection that you have with the ball to the skin feels different to you. So one little poop, that ball's out. So they're like, hey, no sleeves. Because
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that's one of the big reasons why you'll see receivers not wearing sleeve. O linemen usually, if they're not cold, which I fail to believe anyone's not cold, but there's definitely a toughness mentality thing from offensive lineman standpoint. But a lot of skill guys would love to wear sleeves, but can't always wear sleeves because the ball is slippery.
Right.
When you fumble, it's like that fumble can cost you the game. So
that's right. Yeah. And
don't
you don't want that in January.
Or wear them and never fumble. Make a decision.
I got you. Wow. Okay. All right. Let's move along. So we saw I guess the Friday night after Thanksgiving, we saw Georgia and Georgia Tech. And not gonna lie, I was rooting for Georgia Tech, man. Get Georgia up out of there.
Me too. I wanted to see what was gonna happen, and they had them. They really had them.
8 overtimes, right?
8 overtimes.
8 over.
Crazy.
What's the longest game you've ever played in?
3 overtimes. 67 to 65. We lost to Michigan.
Wow.
My freshman year.
Okay.
So Michigan, in Big House.
How hard is it to play that many overtimes? Like where does the fatigue start getting to you, or is it just how does that work?
Yeah, fatigue definitely sets in towards the end of the game, but there's also a level of excitement because you want to be the guy to make that winning play, right? You want to be that guy. Also, it gets harder the more overtimes you have from a coaching perspective, I feel like, because it's less 2-point plays that you have. That's less plays in the playbook that you have. The playbook's going to have a certain amount of plays, certain amount of first down, certain amount of second down, certain amount of situational plays. So your overtime plays or your 2-point plays or your gotta have it plays, you only got 8 to 10 gotta have it plays in there. You might have ran a couple of them during the, you know what I'm saying? You might have ran a couple of them already. So your play count is really, really changing. That's why, in my opinion, I like to think towards those later 2-point plays, round 5, 6, 7, 8. Those weren't typical 2-point plays that you were seeing. The play they ran on, they ran a drive. They ran a inside zone, right to the running back, right up the middle, and it's like that's not a real 2-point play that they would have called in the game. They might have called a different type of play, sending guys in motion, doing those different things. So the higher you get up there, the gamesmanship kind of comes in. But that was an exciting game. That was an exciting game, I think, for football. As a football fan, that's what you like to do. And then people were losing track. They're like, okay, well, so what does that mean? So now what? Is it okay?
Yeah.
It was good football.
Bruce was good, man. Good to see you. NFL shouldn't implement college overtime rules. I kind of like the college overtime rules, actually. I wouldn't be mad if the NFL did it. I kind of like it, but we got what we got.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. Okay, so Georgia ends up just barely escaping Georgia Tech. Heck of a game there, and obviously they are. I don't think it would have changed even if they lost, but they are in the SEC championship game. They will play Texas. That should be a good one. They already went to Austin and smacked around Texas earlier this year, so I'm sure Texas will be ready for the rematch.
Yeah,
and you know what? Here's the thing, right? Georgia's got 2 losses on the year, correct? They're 10-2.
Yep, 10-2.
And so because they are the if they're the SEC runner-up, they will still end up making the playoffs with 3 losses, man. This is crazy. I mean, I guess it's more fair than what we had before, but still, I don't know. You got 3 lost teams getting in the playoff, but it's the first year, so we'll see how it starts playing out down the road. But I like it.
Mhm.
Alabama, Bruce says if Alabama makes it, it'll be a joke, but they probably will make it. Why? Because they're Alabama too, because they're in the SEC, and we know what that's about. So yeah, this is it's going
I'm
to be
curious to
very.
why what would make it a joke if Alabama wins? If Alabama makes it in, which that they
Well,
shouldn't be in? Should
no, they
Miami have
shouldn't
made
be
it
in.
in? I'm just curious.
Well, so I'm looking at it this way, right? So Alabama had what they've got 3 losses as it is, but to
Mhm.
me, the bad one was getting smacked around the way they did at Oklahoma,
Mm.
by a team that unfortunately is not that good, right? I like
Mhm.
Brent Venables. I don't have any problem with the Sooners, but they're not that good. They bodied Alabama, and then they went and got lit up by an LSU team that's not that good, right? So it's like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
how do you, but again, like I always talk about, the SEC is always going to get the benefit. And like the way they do it is at Oklahoma, the way they do it is they always ensure that they rank these guys properly so that they can say, well, the SEC is the toughest conference, and you get these ranked wins. Like Missouri's not that good. They really didn't play much of anyone this year, and they made sure that they're ranked high enough so that people who beat them are going to get credit for that. Bruce says South Carolina should be in. I don't know. And we'll talk about it when we review the rankings. I'm really not sure about the whole South Carolina piece. This is another 3-loss team. They're ranked number 15 right now. I don't buy that. Now, did they play really well against Clemson? Yes, but they're not going to be a conference champion, right? They're not going to be a conference runner-up. Why should they be in? I'm not really feeling that.
Yeah, let
So
me go back to their wins or their losses too. I
you
don't even
said South
remember who all
Carolina.
they played. Yeah, I don't even know who all
I'm
they
bringing up
played.
their schedule right now,
Oh,
and
beat Old Dominion, beat
we'll get to
Kentucky,
that.
lost
But
to LSU, Akron.
mhm. And that LSU loss, that's a bad loss because LSU's not good, right?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Well,
They
they were
lost to Ole
16.
Miss.
They were 16 at the time.
Okay, lost to Ole Miss, lost to Bama, who got again bodied by a bad Oklahoma team.
Yeah.
So this is weird. South Carolina beat Oklahoma 35-9, but Oklahoma they lost to Alabama, who got beat by Oklahoma. Like this is so weird.
Right.
Um,
South Carolina does look good though.
I mean, they do. They
They
do. I
did.
just
I think early on they looked strong. They got some players.
mhm.
Which game was that? That night game that they were just defense was playing lights out.
Texas A&M.
Yep.
A&M. Yep.
I was like,
That was
yo.
that was a big win. That was a big
I
win.
was like, yo, this might be the year.
The A&M was number 10 when they beat them. That was a
Yep.
huge one. So yeah,
Yep. That was
I'll
a
give
good one.
credit for that. But I think that's their best win of the year. And
Yeah,
then of course they beat Clemson the other day. But you know what though? If Clemson messes around and wins the ACC again, which we'll talk about shortly, but if
man.
Clemson wins the ACC, then South Carolina is going to have a win over a Power 4 champion. So that I'll give him credit there. But I don't know. But yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, so South Carolina beats Clemson. Clemson, another team that at the start of the season when they got bodied by Georgia, we thought the season was done for them. But Dabo Swinney did a nice coaching job to kind of bring these guys back, and he's doing it his way. He doesn't believe in the transfer portal, and he's not for paying players, he's not for paying players the way they're doing it now. I know they've been playing players down there, but yeah, Bruce, you're 100% right. Colorado would have been must-see TV, and I was just a little off. I had them winning the conference, the Big 12. Yes. They were tied for first, but they didn't have the tiebreaker. So yeah, that was tough. And now they'll end up.
That was tough.
I heard somebody say they'll probably end up in the Holiday Bowl, and so we'll see. Yeah. But again, I like the fact that Coach Prime has already said all his guys are going to play. So I like that.
Yeah.
Shedur's going to play. Travis Hunter's going to play. Obviously, Shiloh's going to play. I like that.
Me too.
Let's see. Transformer says South Carolina has 6 straight wins, post 2-point loss to Bama. They are hot right now. Yeah, they're hot right now. But to me, being hot doesn't necessarily earn you a trip to the playoff. I mean, but we'll see what we'll see what the committee decides on Sunday, right after all the conference title games. So we still got a little ways to go. But yeah, rivalry weekend was very entertaining in watching these games. Obviously, like I said, South Carolina, Clemson, Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, USC, freaking Miami, the U. They got beat by Syracuse.
That hurt.
Crazy. Yeah. So funny thing, Syracuse's quarterback leads the nation in passing, and he was the quarterback at Ohio State last year. I bet Ohio State wish they had him this weekend.
Yeah.
Sure. So, absolutely, man. But yeah, this is man. So Miami is probably going to be out. I think they're number 12 right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it? The top ranked Power 5 or a Group of 5 team is probably going to end up the 5th ranked. I'm sorry, is going to end up knocking them out. So it's going to be very interesting. Very interesting. I would have liked for Miami to have to go up to Notre Dame and play them. That would have been real good.
Yeah, that would have been a tough game for them. It's going to be tough whoever got to go up there.
Yeah, I agree. Bruce says, let's be real, Colorado game going to be big because of the prime effect. I predict Colorado versus Michigan. Wow, that would be a good game. But I tell you what, Colorado is not going to be dumb enough to play Michigan's game. And they better figure out how to block up front because Michigan can get after you. So, yeah. And here's the other problem. We've seen Colorado have difficulty stopping the run. Remember, Kansas ran for over 300 on them. And we know that's Michigan's DNA. So if they can get that cranked up, it could be a little tougher. But really, if you're Michigan, that's what you want to do. You want to keep Colorado's offense off the field. So I think that would be a pretty good game. That'd be a pretty good game, Michigan and Colorado. So I'd like to see it. See how Al Sharon Moore coaches that up. Yeah. All right. So let's get to the final topic, Ryan. This is the one we've kind of been back and forth on as we were looking at some of the games from last week and how they affect things. So we have the week 14, post week 14 college football playoff rankings. And so let's see. Let's go over to that. I had it here. All right. So we got I'll just go through the first 10. Oh, well, the top 12, right? Because it's a 12-team playoff. So number 1, Oregon, for obvious reasons, only undefeated team in the country. And they, this weekend, will play against Penn State in the, Big Ten championship game.
Big Ten, yep.
And I think it's fair to say that I'm picking Oregon in this one. Who you got? What do you think?
I would love to see Penn State win.
It's not going to happen, man.
It's going to be tough. Oregon's rolling. Oregon's fast. They got a good team. Yeah. Oregon will probably win that.
But I think Oregon, their run defense is not elite. So if Penn State can commit to really trying to run the ball, not like they have a lot of choice. They don't have a dynamic, explosive passing offense. And if Oregon can take that tight end out of the game, then Penn State's not going to be able to do anything on offense. So I definitely have Oregon winning this one. But yeah, that's number 1. Oregon plays number 3 Penn State in the in the Big Ten championship game. Number 2, Texas is going to play, what's that? Number 5, Georgia. Who you got in this one? This is interesting.
Texas, I feel like, has been playing better football. Georgia shouldn't have went 8 overtimes.
That's right.
At home.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They should have handled that. So and I feel like Texas is rolling on all phases. They're built for this. The defense is good, and they get a few sparkles on special teams every now and then. So I think Texas gonna handle that.
And I think Kirby Smart is one of the best coaches in the country, defensively and overall. But Texas now has a chip on their shoulder from the beating that they took when Texas went into their house and bodied them on national TV. So you got that going on, and Sark is going to be like, hey. And Sark is one of the best play callers in the country, right there with Lincoln Riley. So he's going to have something drawn up for these guys. So as long as they don't have issues with turnovers. And here's the other thing. Texas has a very good defense also. And Carson Beck, he'll throw it to you a few times now.
He will. Right. Jacksonville kid, but he'll,
man, they're in high school, And I'll tell you what's funny about that. That is why, honestly, as outstanding as Georgia is, as great as their athletes are and all that, that's why I'm not afraid of Notre Dame playing Georgia, because Notre Dame's secondary will get you some opportunities, and Carson Beck will throw it to you a few times. And Al Golden's one of the best defensive coordinators in the nation. But that's a different story for another day. But yeah,
Now, it
yes.
might be more of a home game for Georgia. So I'm
Oh
interested.
yeah, it's in Atlanta.
Fans gonna show up to the
Yeah.
Georgia Dome. Well, not the Georgia Dome. Pull up
Pretty
to
much.
the
Mercedes-Benz
Mercedes-Benz
Dome.
Stadium,
Yeah.
because that can add some effect too. I might pick Texas, and then you pull in there, and that whole place is redded out. It's like, oh shoot, this a home game.
I'm sure Sark is telling these guys, man, we know what it is.
Yep.
We know what we're up against, but they came in our house and they kicked our butts. Now it's time to return the favor.
Return the favor.
You know what I mean? So
great time too.
Yeah, I got Texas on that as well. Number 3, Penn State. We mentioned they're playing Oregon. Number 4, Notre Dame. As an independent, they have the week off. They're going to sit back, watch how everything else plays out, and see where they fall on Sunday after it's all over. And keep in mind, Notre Dame, no matter what they have done thus far, because they're independent and not a member of a conference, they cannot be any higher than 5th in the final college football playoff ranking. So they know that. Everybody else knows that. It's going to be what it's going to be, and they will probably end up 5th because Penn State is not beating Oregon. So you got that. Number 5, Georgia. We talked about them. They'll be playing Texas in the SEC title game. Ohio State has to sit back and watch after their tough loss against Michigan. And you know what? Quick side note, I'm sure that Michigan is kind of taking that as, just, extra good. Not only did they beat Ohio State, but, they helped to kind of ruin things for them as well, right? Made it harder for them to, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I'm sure they're enjoying that. Tennessee won't be playing this week. They're number 7. SMU is playing in the ACC championship game against Clemson. What do you think about that? I haven't had a chance to see much of SMU this year.
I haven't either, but that's a big game. And for our Alabama household, we need SMU to win.
Do you? Why is that?
I think so. Let's say SMU being, because I'm getting ahead a little bit, because they're in the quarterfinals already.
Yes.
So let's say Clemson wins. SMU might drop from their 3 elsewhere. So they might have to play in the first round. They might. You see what I'm saying? Because what they were saying on the committee thing was like the teams that aren't playing nothing's affecting them.
Right.
But the teams that are in and teams that are still playing, that can change what's going on.
That's right.
So what if Clemson goes in, handles business, wins the game? Boom. They're now champions. They gotta probably be in there now.
Oh, they'll be in there. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They're a Power 4 champion.
Who's already been hot. How far do they drop out, or do they drop to 12? Do they drop to 11? And then what happens to 11 and 12? You know what I'm saying? So to prevent all that, we need SMU to just go ahead and get this win. And personally, I would like to see SMU win, because these are the situations in college football that we built this bracket for teams like SMU, right?
That's right.
For these teams to kind of get in, for Arizona State, for what it is, right now. This is what we built it for. And I kind of, and I like that. So I'd like to see SMU win, and I'd like to see SMU. They should go all the way. I wanted Illinois to win, obviously.
Of course,
we didn't make the cut.
Right.
White's with Alabama, so obviously I'm roll tide. But if SMU, that'd be cool to see. Or one of these lower teams that haven't been in since forever, that'd be cool to see. No
doubt. Okay. So following up with that, you have Indiana, who, again, they won't be playing, but that's a decent team. Say again.
Yes.
That's a good team. I think the toughest game they played all year, obviously, they got beat handily by Ohio State, but that's a good team overall. So we'll see once the playoffs start and once their matchup kind of is set, just how good they are. Next up, Boise State, they're playing for the Mountain West Conference Championship, and they've got a Heisman contender, Ashton Jeanty, who, if Boise State makes a little run, he could break the rushing record. I think he's about 350 off of Barry Sanders' single-season rushing record. But we got to put an asterisk by that because, when Barry Sanders played, they didn't count the postseason yardage.
Right.
So he did all what he did in the regular season, which is even more absurd, right? Okay. What's up, C Hutch? You're new, haven't seen you here before. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Thanks for checking in. I wouldn't mind seeing Boise State rematch Oregon either. What is it? Genty went off for like 190 against Oregon the first time, so I'm sure they will have something in place to slow him down.
Oh yeah, early in the season.
Yeah, early in the season. Yeah, I'm sure they'll have something in place to slow him down. Yep. Number 11, Alabama, as you talked about, 3-loss Alabama. We'll see what they do. Kalen DeBoer is a really good coach, man. It's just, there's been some growing pains there. Alabama's defense is not.
It's hard to go behind the greatest coach of all time.
One
of them. If not the greatest, one of them. Hard to fill those shoes. And just like the example you used earlier with the Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
We're still kind of seeing the lull of a Nick Saban team with a new coach.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting to see what next year looks like.
That's right.
Following year. And then I like to think 4 years after the hire, because that could theoretically be your first rookie or your first freshman class who's about to graduate. Now, it's like the whole team has been washed in my mind.
Yeah. No doubt. Gee, what's good, my brother? What's good, man? Good to see you. Appreciate you, C Hutch. Appreciate you. Okay. Bruce says no clear-cut power in college. This playoffs is up in the air.
Yep.
And that's what I love, though. That's what I love. So
the
NIL has contributed to this. The transfer portal has contributed to this. An expanded college football playoff has contributed to this. And for me, this is the most exciting college football season I have ever seen. And I started watching college football back in 93. So this is fantastic. Like, I am loving this. And I think in a couple of years, they're going to expand it to 14 teams. So, hey, works for me, even better. So, I think it's just so good because more fan bases and more teams have a real legitimate chance. And then obviously the way players are moving around now and not, unfairly locked in certain situations. Not that I'm a proponent of, I don't like it here, this ain't fair, so I'm jumping in the portal. But I mean, the movement I think is better for the sport in terms of parity overall. One team, and you will slowly see that SEC dominance that's going to start to fade because they can't just stockpile all the good players. So this is really, really, really interesting. And so we just talked about number 11 Alabama, and 12 is Miami. The U, they'll probably get jumped, but
yes,
absolutely transformer. Say again.
I think it's over for Miami. Unfortunately, I kind of wanted to see them in the playoffs because I've always been a Hurricane too. I've always been a Miami Hurricane fan. Of all the Florida schools, I was going to the University of Miami. I knew I was going. It was going to offer me. I knew I was going. But obviously that didn't work out how I thought it would.
Right. You know what's funny? Believe it or not, what's my favorite Florida college football program? And obviously I'm not from here. UCF, man.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
UCF was just kind of getting hot when I was getting
Yeah. And that's why
they had an Adidas deal, not a Nike deal, and I was like,
really? Really? Did they recruit you? UCF recruited you?
Didn't recruit me heavy. I went to like a junior day, or maybe a sophomore day. Got all the mailers and stuff. But at that time, UCF wasn't even on the radar. They weren't, in my mind, not a true program, I should say. But they were like the new kind of school. I would have rather gone to somewhere else. But they didn't offer me, so I was going where people offered me. So, but it was
got you. Yeah, I think it was like 2017 was the year that they went undefeated, and they said they called themselves the national champion. That was a really good team, and I played good football
that year.
Yeah, I've said it time and again. I believe the only team that would have beat them that year was Alabama, because they beat who they played. They played Auburn in the Peach Bowl, and Auburn had beat Alabama and Georgia in back-to-back weeks that season, and UCF beat them in the Peach Bowl. So that was a really good team. And then the following year, they played Joe Burrow and LSU in the Fiesta Bowl, and they lost really close, but they played them down to the wire. Those were some really good teams. Really good teams. Let's see. So, all right. So we got the top 12. So just to run through those again: Oregon, Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, SMU, Indiana, Boise State, Alabama, and the U, Miami. Now let's keep in mind, y'all, that these rankings will change. The final rankings will be put out on Sunday after all the conference championship games have been played, and and the committee kind of gets their final look at everyone, and then we'll find out. C. Hutch says, if the 12-team playoffs had been around when Kellen Moore was at Boise, we could have, as Boise State fans, seen a chance for Heisman candidate play the big. Absolutely. And see, this is why I love the 12-team playoff so much. I mean, realistically, it's still not fair because they still only do like the top-ranked group of 5 team. And I guess maybe if you have another group of 5 team that's good enough to get into that top 12, then maybe. But at the end of the day, the whole thing is still skewed heavily towards the Big Ten and the SEC. But it's better than what we had, so I can't be too mad at it. And hopefully when it expands, they're not going to – because I know I read something before the start of the season saying that if they expand, the Big Ten and the SEC want a guaranteed number of slots to the playoff. And I'm like, well, that defeats the purpose of having this playoff, right? Don't do that. Don't give into that.
Yeah. Big Ten is too spread out anyway. We didn't need to bring them teams from the West Coast up to the state over there, but that's not what I call.
Right. So let me touch on this real quick, right? So now you're hearing, one of the things you're hearing is USC, and I don't think I heard it from, maybe I did, USC and Oregon, not necessarily complaining, but now you're hearing about, these teams that have to travel coast to coast to play these football games, and what about the student athletes? How come nobody complains about that when it's Notre Dame? Notre Dame's been doing that for 100 freaking years.
Yeah.
They were going coast to coast on the damn train, right?
Yeah.
Newt Rockne was taking the train with his team from Indiana, from South Bend, all the way out to New York, playing in Yankee Stadium, and then taking the train all the way back across country to play USC.
Right.
We've been doing this from the beginning.
Right.
Nobody cared, but all of a sudden now, because the former Pac-12 teams got to do it. What about the travel and the travel on the bodies and the student athletes?
Yeah.
But nobody
the best way to protect that was leave the Pac-12 how it was. That's why they built it how they built it. That's what makes college football so great, is the ability that they have teams in certain regions and different conferences. If you would have had the 12-team playoff like years back, college football would have been completely different, and it probably would have been a lot more exciting because there were some really good teams that were in the Pac-10 that were all over the country. That would have been like, man, I really wish we'd be able to see this team and this team play. So what you have to do, right? Go get on NCAA and play it to see what would actually happen. Now they have the opportunity. And it's a money grab. I mean, we talk about it. It's all a money thing.
That's right. You know, Bruce, man, you're 100% right. But the good thing is, now that it's legal and you're seeing more teams can really get into it fairly, now you're seeing situations where it's not just Alabama, or it's not just Florida, or it's not just Georgia, right? More teams can really, really get to it. And so now you're seeing the parity, and you're seeing teams, you're seeing players spread the talent all around the country instead of, just locking in on a certain region. Now, is the SEC region always, for the most part, going to have the most talent? Yes, because of the warm weather. And, you got so many players down here, not necessarily just because the players are better. I think that's a false narrative. Although there are good players down here, they're great players. It's because the weather allows these guys to train all year long. That doesn't necessarily mean just by virtue of being here, they're better players. The conditions just give them something that they can't get if they're a player up north. You know what I'm saying? And then from that, we get the whole, it just means more culture. So, but it's good, man. I like it. And I like that everybody can get a cut of this dough now, and it's making college football better. So before we get out of here, let's go ahead and look at the projected bracket if the tournament was to start today. The playoff was to start today. This is what we got. Thank my guy Ryan for this. Appreciate you, Ryan.
I was like, that's my picture.
right. So this is what we got, right? So obviously, again, Penn State won't be here next week because they're not beating Oregon. I would be shocked, and I will go on the limb. I will go out here and say Penn State is not beating Oregon. I would be totally shocked if that happened. But Arizona State, that's interesting, right? They're not highly ranked, but they're a very good team. And if they win the Big 12, then they'll get in, right? Tennessee and Ohio State. That's going to be a tough game because Tennessee has a much better defense than people think. And I don't know if they can deal with Ohio State on the perimeter, but we'll see. So this would be interesting, right? So let's say Ohio State wins this game. So now we'll see Oregon and Ohio State again, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what would have been even more crazy. Had Ohio State beat Michigan, we would have seen Oregon and Ohio State earlier in the season, was at week 4, week 5.
Mm-hmm.
Then we would have seen Oregon and Ohio State in the Big 12 in the Big 10 championship game. And then we possibly could have seen them again in the college football playoff. Like, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess that's just me. Then if it were to start today, Alabama and Notre Dame, which again, the beauty of that is Alabama has to come and try to play Notre Dame in the cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be a huge advantage to us.
Mm-hmm.
We have an elite defense this year, and we can run the football extremely well. And Alabama's defense is not what Alabama's defense was in years past.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to see what's my man Ryan what's my man's name? The freak freshman wide receiver.
Ryan Williams.
Ryan Williams. Yes, Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
So I would love to see him lock up with our guy Leonard Moore. He's a true freshman corner, and I think he had 5 pass breakups on Saturday,
wow.
which is it was tied for most in the country in Division I this year. So I mean, and Benjamin Morrison, our All-American cornerback, Notre Dame's All-American cornerback, has said that he believes Leonard Moore is going to be better than him. So it should be very interesting. Bruce, don't even do it, man. Just stop. Michigan did pay $12 million for their freshman QB. That's what's been reported, that the NIL deal he got was $10-12 million. So that's going to be good because Sharon Moore is a very good coordinator. And, they got the number 1 quarterback. They get some receiver weapons around him and continue to run the football. It could be very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Where are we? So Alabama, Notre Dame, I think that would be really good. And I think Notre Dame would shock a lot of people and win that game. And then Notre Dame and SMU. Again, I got to see SMU play. I need to maybe go back and watch some of their stuff.
Yeah.
But imagine if Notre Dame matches up against SMU, they might be able to knock them off and get into the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously this is not going to be what the rankings are on Sunday. But if it were to be this way, this wouldn't be a totally unreasonable path for the Irish to get to the semifinals at least, right?
Right.
At which point, if they got there, they would play the winner of Texas and Georgia. That would be the tough matchup, So, not bad. But Indiana and Georgia, I don't see Indiana winning that game, but never know.
But the way they just were toe to toe with Georgia Tech, they could.
That's right. And Indiana has a very elite offense. They can do it, but their offense didn't look so elite against Ohio State. So, again, we'll have to see. Bruce, Notre Dame is a business. They haven't won anything for decades. That is correct. They have not won anything for decades. However, sports is cyclic, Bruce. Sports is cyclic. No team is going to go forever without winning, right? For instance, let's jump to the NBA real quick. The Boston Celtics won a championship in 1986, right? They didn't win a championship again until 2008, right? Long time. It was at 22 years, 32 years, 22 years. Right. So it took 22 years for them to come back around and win a title. 2008, they didn't win again until 2024. So sports is cyclic, man. Things eventually come back around. And again, now you're seeing a situation where one area, one team, one conference can't stockpile all the best players. Who knows what's going to happen down the road? And, the Irish have an outstanding young head coach. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you. They have not gotten the job done since 1988, and there's no getting around that. But yeah, this looks like it's going to be, this is going to be so exciting. Exciting. I'm really happy for what we are seeing at this point in the college football playoff, man. Do you have any final thoughts on the college football playoff and kind of how it's shaping up at the moment?
I like where it's at. I like where it's at. I like the opportunity. Yeah. I mean, obviously I'm at this point, I'm rooting for Alabama to kind of stay in.
Yeah.
My wife went there. She's from Alabama. So that's my big thing. But there's some good football. That's
That's
got
right.
to be played. So I'm excited to kind of
Mhm.
watch these other
Yeah.
games a lot closer because now that I
Mhm.
know that, hey, this is going to affect the rankings and what it's
Yeah.
going to look like going into the
Yeah.
playoffs.
Yeah. And what I also like is that with more teams involved, you're going to get more clashes of styles and regions than we would normally get. And I kind of like when you see those kind of different matchups and whatnot. And I think that's really cool. You get to see matchups. Obviously, we see this stuff in the bowl games annually, but now that it's in a playoff, you're going to see much less guys sitting out. The
Right.
games are going to mean more. They're going to be more intense, and so
Right.
this should be really good.
Right.
A lot of coaching matchups we wouldn't expect. A lot of player matchups we wouldn't. I think this is just going to be awesome. So let me ask you this, Bruce. So let me put this up here, right? Because I deal with this a lot. Let me ask you, what is the obsession with Notre Dame being in a conference? I really would like to know, what is the obsession with Notre Dame being in a conference? Because I get a lot of people can't stand Notre Dame football, and that's fine, right? You are a fan of who you're a fan of, or you're not a fan of who you're not a fan of. I get it. But for those people that hate Notre Dame football, wouldn't you want them to remain independent? Because being independent makes it harder for them to win a championship. So I don't understand this obsession with join a conference. Why? Somebody explain that to me. It doesn't even just have to be Bruce. Anybody in the chat, please explain this obsession with Notre Dame joining the conference. And also, if we want to keep it a buck, all right, if you want to be mad at somebody not being in a conference, be mad at the Big Ten and Michigan for Notre Dame not being in a conference. You know why? Notre Dame would have been in the Big Ten, but Fielding Yost was anti-Catholic and he was a bigot. So he went around and basically kept Notre Dame from getting into the Big Ten. So if we want to be real, be mad at Michigan and Fielding Yost. That's why Notre Dame is not in a conference. Okay? So do your history first, not just you, Bruce, but anybody who has a problem with Notre Dame being independent. Soft, they fold against tough opponents. So are they the only team that gets beat by tough opponents? Are they? See, this is what I don't understand, right? A lot of teams get beat by tough opponents, but when it's Notre Dame, it's a problem, right? So let's do this, Bruce. Let's do this. Why don't you go look up the top 5 worst college football playoff blowout losses? Why don't you go look that up? I guarantee you Notre Dame won't be one of them. I guarantee you that, because I know you don't know because you want to throw stuff out there like most people who don't like Notre Dame for no reason. You don't know, but I know they are not one of the top worst college football playoff losses, right? Guess who is? Alabama. That team you love. I don't know why, being from B-More, but Alabama has one of the top 5 worst college football playoff blowout losses. You wouldn't think that, would you? You wouldn't think that. Now, they got multiple championships, so it's not really, you can have a bad day. They can have a bad day. But what I'm saying is keep the same energy. You know what I'm saying? And so here we go. Yep, because they're overhyped. Bruce, clearly you don't pay enough attention to college football media because Notre Dame is not overhyped. They're constantly denigrated. They're not overhyped at all. So you might want, again, you might want to do some research because I see you're just throwing stuff out there, but you should know me by now. You watch this show, I'm prepared for everything that comes at me when it comes to points that I got to make. I'm always prepared. So they're not overhyped. You can say that, but it's not true. You can say that, but it's not true. But let's do this. We're pretty much done with the ranking review here. So I'm gonna take a quick minute here and let's go ahead and let's open up the phone lines. 904-219-8264. 904-219-8264. So talk to me when they win a chip. Bruce, let's keep it real, man. Again, they got 11 of those things already. So let's do that. Let's do that. Talk to me when they win a chip. But you talking all this, right? You're talking all this. They got 11 of those things already. Granted, they haven't won one since 88. So I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and tell you they're Alabama or something like that. Obviously, they're not. But with that said, you gotta stop pushing the same fake narratives. Come with something new, man. Come with something new. So yeah, you guys can call in 904-219-8264 if you have any thoughts on college football, whether it's the rankings, whether it's the games we saw this past weekend, whether it's flag planting or Michigan and Ohio State, the game, any of that. All right, here we go. Let's go ahead and take this. Bruce, what up, man?
Hey, man, what's going on with you, brother?
What's going on, man? How you?
You don't know Notre Dame. You don't know Notre Dame. The Dallas Cowboys of college football overhyped. It's cute. They cute.
Let me ask you,
They
why are they
cute.
okay? Why are they overhyped?
Because they overhyped. Because they pump them up. Oh, Notre Dame, all these cute uniforms, all these uniforms coming out looking cute.
What are you talking
Notre Dame,
about?
I'm just fucking with you, man.
I thought so, because I'm like, you clearly don't
No,
watch
seriously,
these
no.
guys play, man.
Seriously, no. So seriously, listen.
Uh-huh.
Notre Dame, they don't be punishing good teams. They're not in the conference. They separate from everybody.
They
They
what?
are they're not in the conference.
Okay.
Why they not? Listen, they are the Dallas Cowboys of college football. Blitz glam, hoop high, hooray, overhyped. You know,
So you keep
The glitz and the glam.
you keep saying overhyped. I'm just trying to understand how that is.
they overhyped because they get their ass kicked and play against tough teams every time
So
in the playoffs.
so did you do what I asked you and look it up?
I'm not talking about Alabama. I'm talking about Notre Dame. Y'all
I'm
get
not-
y'all
okay.
ass kicked when y'all play against tougher competition. It's
So-
well documented.
So okay, so are they the only team that gets bodied when they play against tough
I'm not
competition?
talking about
That's
it.
what
I'm
I'm
talking
asking.
about we talking about
No, because you want to call out Notre Dame and say they get
But y'all
bodied when they
smashed
play tough.
every time. Y'all get smashed every time. Every time y'all get to playoff, the top 4 college playoffs, or however it may be, for the past 2 decades.
Uh-huh.
What the last? How many years since y'all won a ring?
88, so I was that 30 almost
That's a
40 years.
goddamn shame.
Almost 40
Well, at
years.
least the Cowboys won a ring in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame is an overhyped team, is a business.
So you
They
keep
are the Dallas Cowboys of college football.
okay. So
It's
let me
well known.
let me ask you this,
I have
Bruce.
no championship pedigree as of recent. What have you done for me lately? Go
Okay,
ahead, talk.
cool. All right, you're right. I'm not going to argue with you. They have not won since '88, and that's undeniable, inarguable, no question. Now let me ask you this, right?
Go ahead, Soldier.
They're overhyped. Who is overhyping them, and what is the overhype? This is where I'm trying to get to, because I know that's not true. You're saying things,
People
but
like
you
you.
can't defend it.
People like you overhype them, like Notre Dame.
Wait,
People like
how-
you, the media overhype them.
Mhm.
They overhyped by the media. They got their own goddamn TV station. They play on NBC every Saturday.
How does
They
that?
overhype.
How does that?
They're big, they're business, but they listen. They're good business. So it's a good business effort, but they're not a championship pedigree. They are not. They are not.
They're not a championship pedigree, but they have
They're
11
not.
championships and 7 Heisman Trophy
It's
winners.
been 36 years we talk about now in the past
You said
20.
pedigree. You said pedigree. You can't
Okay,
say they're
in
not
the last
championship
20.
pedigree.
So what's been going on for the last 20 years?
Okay,
over Notre Dame?
fair enough. They haven't been good enough. I'm not arguing
And
that.
to ask you this, have they been soft against tough opponents? They've been soft, haven't they been? Tell the truth.
So they have not played their best when they needed to. I can agree with
they
that.
They've been soft.
They have not
That's
played
all
their
I'm
best when they
saying.
needed to. So
A good team.
my
I love
question
Coach.
is
Go ahead,
this.
go ahead, Soldier.
Let me
Go ahead,
ask you, why is it that what is that echo? That's killing me. Why is it that everyone loves to pile on Notre Dame when they get beat, but when other teams get beat worse than them, it's crickets. No one has anything to say. This is all I want to figure out.
Because Notre Dame, they better than everybody. They bougie. They cute. They're Notre Dame. Oh, we better. We condescend. We look down on everyone.
Why?
We got our own conference. We got our own channel, NBC. We the only one play on NBC on Saturday.
Okay, so wait. First of all, they're not the only ones that pay on NBC. Okay, so you need to get that right.
That's that. Majority of the time.
Big Ten
yes,
also
they do.
plays on NBC, so we can.
Every now and then, but mainly NBC is their channel. We all know that.
So here's the deal, right? If you
All right.
were Notre Dame, right, and
Yeah.
NBC is saying, "Yo, we will pay you to keep showing your games," would you say no? I mean, that seems smart to me.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're good business, but they not tough like that.
Mhm.
They not tough.
How many games have you
Because
watched
you
them
can-
play this season? Let me ask you that.
None. But because I
Okay.
watched all their highlights. I watched the condensed game. I watched the condensed game. They tough. They good.
Mhm.
They good. They good in the regular. They good in the first 11 games. They
Okay.
good. They probably lose one or maybe two. But
Mhm.
when they come down to when they play them tough teams,
Okay.
they fold like they curl up like a bunch of Catholic school pussies that they are.
Okay. So let me ask you this. All right, cool. So let's try this, right? I can't argue with what you're saying, right? In terms of them not being able to play the way they should over the last 20 years, 25 years, 30 years against the best opposition. Although the game of the century was at 93 when Florida State came to us and we beat them, but you know, that's a different
93
thing.
Wu-Tang Clan first came out. That was a mighty long time.
That's one of the greatest albums ever, but different stuff. But no, in all seriousness, the reason why I say this is I want you. No. Let me ask you, what would it take this year for you to say that Notre Dame is not overrated? Which again, they're not. But what would it take? How many postseason games would they have to win, or what would they have to do? Would they have to win a championship for you to give them their due, or what would it take?
Play was so goddamn hard. Stop getting their ass kicked in the goddamn playoffs and the bowl games that we goddamn did. That's what I want them to do. They get their ass kicked every time. They be blowouts. They be getting wiped out. Like, am I lying? They get their butt kicked. That's why I said they're the Dallas Cowboys of college football.
Okay.
They got the business, everything about them, business, big boom in business and everything.
Okay.
The Giants, falls like the playoff time, the time to get down with the big boys, y'all fold.
Okay.
Y'all soft as a toilet tissue.
So if they win their opening game in the playoff this year, would that be okay with you?
All depends how they win. If they get their ass handed to them, but they're winning the shootout, maybe they get credit because they won in the shootout.
But it would be.
I want to see them dominate. I want to see them dominate. Even though this year, but
in the playoffs, a win is a win, right? Matter of fact, hold on, Bruce.
True is a win. True.
Ryan,
that's true.
Ryan, let me ask you, man. Obviously, you've played Division I, you played NFL, you played CFL. In the playoffs, a win is a win, correct? No matter how you get it.
You're just trying to get in and trying to keep winning and get hot.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I just wanted to. Okay, all right. So but Bruce, it's not going to be good enough for you unless Notre Dame gets in there and dominates. That's what you're saying, right? That's what it's going to take for you to.
They play with so fucking hard. They haven't been playing no damn hard in these damn games. They get their ass kicked.
Okay.
Shit, if y'all even if y'all losing the playoffs, I'm gonna see some toughness. Y'all show all the toughness during the regular season. As soon as y'all playing against some power conference, some power teams, y'all fold. Okay. It's fact.
Okay. So let me ask you. I just want to make sure, and you're right. I want to make sure something else before I let you go, though. So in 2013, in the inaugural college football playoff, when Florida State got 60 put on them by Oregon, was that okay with you, or did they?
Hell no, that was soft. But we're not talking about no.
Okay, no. I just wanted.
Why you deflected?
I'm not deflecting. Why are you
deflecting? We talking about Notre Dame. You ain't talking about Florida State.
I'm not deflecting. What I'm doing is demonstrating to you that somehow it's okay when it's somebody else. Okay, so when Trevor Lawrence was a freshman and Clemson beat Alabama by 28 points in the national championship game, was Alabama soft in that game?
That one game, but Alabama usually shows up.
Okay.
That one game, but y'all been getting one.
Okay, hold on. So 2014 in the second college football 14 playoff, when Ezekiel Elliott ran for over 200 on Alabama and knocked them out the playoff, were they soft?
That game, yes.
Oh, okay.
But y'all soft in all y'all games.
Okay. So I'm just trying to understand why it's okay when other teams are soft, but when Notre Dame is soft, it's such a big deal.
Because they pump y'all up like y'all that shit.
But nobody does that. That's what I'm trying to say. That's just not true.
But Alabama they got wiped out in the playoffs. That's every now and then. But y'all get clocked every fucking time y'all get in the playoffs.
The reason I was bringing those up is because Notre Dame does not even have one of the top 5 worst playoff blowouts. That's why I bring that up. But it's a narrative that Notre Dame gets smoked every time, but nobody notices when it's someone else.
In the past 2 years, you got some information in front? What's their bowl scores?
Last year they played in a BS bowl, so I wouldn't even pay attention, and they smoked them in that. But I will say this: you are right that Notre Dame has not won a major bowl in probably like 20 years. So the little BS bowls they be killing, but they haven't won a major bowl. So what I'm trying to do, I'm not arguing with you that we're not good enough in these huge games. That's not what I'm doing. I just want you to have the same energy for everybody else because you're pushing a false narrative. That's what I'm saying.
But I would have the same energy for everybody else for the topic of discussion is Notre Dame. Okay.
All right. But I just really the topic of this discussion is college football. It's not Notre Dame. You brought that up, but it's all good.
No, it's about Notre Dame in this discussion though. This will be discussed. You put the number up because we were talking about Notre Dame specifically.
Well, no, I put the number up because we're talking college football. Period. It wasn't necessarily for a Notre Dame call, but it's all good.
But we was going back and forth about Notre Dame. That's the main idea, right? That's all I'm saying, bro.
I got you. You.
My man, you my man. Bruce, behave, man.
It's all good,
I need
brother.
Notre Dame, man. I need Notre Dame show some toughness and grit, man. Like
I agree with you. I need it too, man. I need it too. You ain't lying.
Year, man.
You ain't lying. I need it too, brother. But I think this year you might see it though. Real talk.
All right, I'll catch up with you. Bro.
All right, brother. You have a good night, man. Thank you for the call, Bruce.
All right.
Yeah, Bruce is wild, man. That's one of my best callers, man. We go at it, as you can see. Oh man, Transformer, my bad, man. I had to bring it up just for the the history of it, man. I had to. But listen, I think we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna leave it right there unless anybody else has a call. If you do, you got 1 minute to call in and we'll talk. But other than that, we will go ahead and leave it right there. But Ryan, as always, man, I thank you for your time. I appreciate it, brother. Love talking college football with you.
Thank you. That was a good one.
Yeah. I look forward to getting back with you on after the final polls are released, man. This should be good. This should be good. All right, I guess we're gonna leave it right there. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't already, make sure you click that like and subscribe button. Appreciate you. We out. Peace.